Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into some pretty out there stuff?
Out there is right. We're talking quantum energy healing today, and we're going to be focusing specifically on the energies of fear and love.
And to get into it, we're going to be listening to a clip from a guy named Chris from Truly Holistic. He's a practitioner of this type of healing.
So this Chris, he tries to remotely remove fear from listeners and then replace it with love energy.
Yeah, and get this, he even calls this fear energy louch, LOS.
So before we even get into that, though, for anyone listening who's not super familiar with it, what even is quantum energy healing?
Well, based on what Chris says, it seems like the main idea is that everything is energy and that practitioners can, actually make changes to a person's energy.
With intention, yeah, and sometimes they use tools, but this is where Chris's approach gets kind of unique.
Because he connects this fear energy, this louch, to the law of attraction.
Exactly. So you attract with the law of attraction, right? But how does Chris specifically see fear playing into all that?
Well, he claims that louch can actually lower a person's vibration, disrupt how their body functions and even mess with their spiritual ascension.
Oh, and he also says that manipulators feed off of this fear energy.
Manipulators, now that's an interesting word choice, right? It makes you think about who he means by that. Does he think there are people out there benefiting from other people's fear?
Who knows? But it definitely raises some questions.
Right.
But let's get back to the law of attraction stuff. How does he say fear impacts our ability to manifest what we want in life?
He basically says that this louch creates an energetic blockage.
So instead of attracting good things, you might be attracting negativity into your life.
Makes sense in a way, right? If you're all fearful, it would be hard to attract positive experiences.
Of course, whether you buy any, that's up to you. But the idea that fear holds us back is something a lot of people can relate to, even if they don't believe in this energy stuff. Have you ever felt like fear was stopping you from going after what you wanted?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But let's get into how he actually says he removes this louch and replaces it with love energy.
Well, it might sound kind of crazy to you, but he claims to target 3 specific areas: the nervous system, the soul, and the law of attraction itself.
And he uses the words false when talking about removing the louch and true when he's instilling the love energy, almost like programming a computer.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that's oversimplifying things a bit, right?
Mm.
Is all fear false and is all love true? What do you think about that as you're listening?
It's a big question for sure, and it makes you think about how complex emotions really are.
Right, because they're definitely not black and white. There's so many nuances to them.
Like sometimes fear can be a good thing. It can keep us safe.
And love can be unhealthy too, depending on the situation.
Mm.
So maybe false and true aren't the best words to use.
Well, he also talks about specific sensations that people might experience during this process, feelings of relaxation and calmness as the louch is being replaced.
Yeah, he doesn't say there are any big instant changes, though, just subtle shifts in energy.
Which could still have a big impact over time, right? Being more relaxed and calm.
For sure. But before anyone runs off to book an appointment with Chris, we should probably mention something.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge that what he's saying isn't exactly mainstream. There's no scientific evidence to support a lot of this stuff, like this louch or these energy manipulations.
So we really encourage you to think critically about everything you're hearing, what resonates with you and what doesn't, what seems believable and what seems questionable.
Have you ever noticed fear impacting your life in those ways, your well-being, your relationships, even your ability to get what you want?
It's all about being curious and thinking for yourself. We're not here to tell you what to believe about Chris and his methods. We just want to explore these ideas together.
And that's what's so great about these deep dives. We get to go into these weird and interesting topics without taking them as facts.
We learn, we question, we come to our own conclusions, and hopefully you're doing the same right now as you listen. You know, it's funny how Chris talks about removing this louch and instilling love energy. He uses those words false and true, like they're absolute.
Yeah, like there's only one right way for these energies to be, good or bad.
Definitely makes you think about how he sees this whole energy manipulation thing, doesn't it? Like, is he saying all fear is inherently false and all love is true?
That's a pretty deep question, right? Is all fear actually bad? Is all love always good? Are they really that black and white? What do you think, listening in?
Makes you wonder if he's not oversimplifying things a little bit. Emotions aren't always that simple or straightforward, right?
For sure, there's so many different shades to them, and situations matter, too.
Exactly. Like, fear can keep us safe sometimes, can it?
And love can be totally messed up or even harmful in some cases, so maybe false and true aren't the best way to describe those energies.
Good point. It really makes you think about how much we don't understand about these energies if we're going along with this idea that emotions actually have an energetic component like Chris says.
Right, like is there a spectrum of louch? Could you have mild fear on one end and paralyzing terror on the other?
And what about love? Does romantic love have the same energy as the love you feel for your family or friends?
So many questions. You mentioned before that there isn't much scientific evidence for what Chris is talking about, but that doesn't mean there's any research being done on this connection between energy and emotions, right?
Nope, not at all. There's a whole field called biofield science where they study the idea that living things emit measurable energy fields.
So even though louch might not be a real scientific term, the concept that our emotions could be impacting some kind of energy field around us isn't totally out there.
Right, it's actually being studied by real scientists, though it's still pretty early days. Some scientists are even looking into how biofeedback can be used to help people regulate their emotions by changing these subtle energy fields. Have you ever tried biofeedback?
I haven't, but I've heard some pretty wild things makes you think about what might be possible, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Even if quantum energy healing sounds a little too woo-woo for some people, who knows, maybe there's something to it that science hasn't fully figured out yet.
Maybe Chris is onto something, even if he doesn't have all the fancy scientific terms to describe it. But even if we end up deciding this louch thing and his way of removing fear isn't really for us, this has still been a really interesting discussion.
Right,
So,
totally.
yeah.
It might make you more aware of your own emotions or want to try out other things to improve your well-being.
Yeah.
There are so many different approaches out there.
Exactly. It's not about believing everything Chris says. It's about being open to new ideas and using your own judgment to figure out what works for you.
And before we finish talking about Chris's approach, I wanted to bring up something else. He kept emphasizing that this louch removal and putting in love energy was just a general clearing, like a demonstration. He even said working with individual clients would be much deeper and personalized.
So it's like he gave us a free trial of the quantum energy healing software, but we need to upgrade to the premium version to unlock all the features.
That's a great analogy. It really
Right.
makes you wonder what a more tailored and personalized session with him would be like, and how effective could it really be?
I guess we'd have to book a session to find out. But before you do that, let's take a minute to think about what we've learned and how it applies to you. When you think about your own life, have you ever felt like fear was holding you back in some way, maybe affecting your well-being, your relationships, or even your ability to achieve your goals?
It's something to really think about, right? Because fear can be such a powerful emotion for some people. It can completely take over their lives.
Yeah, and it brings us back to this whole idea we've been talking about that emotions have an energetic side to them.
Yeah.
Even if you're not totally convinced by this louch concept or this idea of quantum energy healing, don't you think there's something to be said for being aware of how our emotions impact us on a deeper level?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And, even if we ignore what Chris is saying about his specific methods, the idea that we can change our energy isn't new at all. There are tons of ancient traditions like yoga and meditation that have been teaching techniques for becoming more aware, calming down the nervous system, and shifting our mental and emotional states for centuries.
So even if we're not sure about this louch stuff, this deep dive has still gotten us thinking about how powerful our emotions are and whether we can actually influence the energy fields around us.
Yeah.
Whether it's through ancient practices or modern science, it seems like more and more people are recognizing that there's a connection there.
And that's what makes all this so interesting, right? It's like we're pushing the boundaries of what we know and opening ourselves up to new possibilities.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into quantum energy healing, we want to leave you with one last question to think about. If we accept this idea that our emotions have an energetic component, how can you start to cultivate more love and less fear in your everyday life?
What are some things you can do or believe in, or even just small changes in how you see things that might help you create a more positive and balanced inner world? It's definitely worth exploring, don't you think?
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear what you come up with. Until next time, keep diving deep and exploring those mysteries both inside and outside of yourself.